Good morning, all, and welcome to the another session of company laws. In my previous lecture, I had started with the new unit, that is dividend, and we had discussed about several provisions of dividend. And as said in the previous lecture, it's a very, very important chapter for the exams also. And because you are studying company law, so you should be aware of certain things which are related to your investment. And as a shareholder, why you are investing in the company, what you are getting in return from the company, how much you are going to get in return. If the company is not providing you dividend, then what are your rights as a shareholder? So we have discussed about the definition of dividend, that it is a portion of company's profit which can be distributed among the shareholders. But one more thing I had discussed, which is very, very important, that the whole profit cannot be distributed in the form of dividend. What is going to be discussed and what is going to be shared, what is going to be given to the shareholder is not the complete or total profit of the company. So we have discussed two things in this regard, and those things are whether it is a profit of the company or the divisible profit. I hope you have understood the difference between the two. The profit is the profit of the company, that is the net profit, and the divisible profit is when you have made reserves out of the profit, you have just set off all your losses of the past years. And then after that, if whatever residue is remaining, that is known as divisible profit. And divisible profit is distributed among the shareholders, not the profit. So that we had discussed in detail in the previous session, that what is to be shared with the shareholder. So you have to remember only one thing, that the divisible profit of the company is distributed among the shareholders in the form of dividend. Okay, so that you need to remember, not the total profit of the company. And what is divisible? There are certain things which you have to remove from the profit, that you will transfer certain amount of money to the reserves, certain amount of money you have to just use it for a set of the losses whatever you have incurred in the previous years. And maybe if you want to make any other more free reserves, you can make free reserves for the future if something goes wrong with the company, for example in the next year, and the company is unable to earn the profit, then from where you are going to pay the dividend, then definitely you will pay the dividend from the free reserve that I had discussed in detail in the previous session. Then we have discussed about the sources. Sources also are all discussed in details in the previous session of dividend, that current year's profit is the easiest way to pay. Past reserves, you can also use past reserve, but before using past reserves, you have to be careful that the reserves are free reserves. The reserves are not charged. Charge means, for example, you have made a reserves for buying a land or building or machinery for the company. So already you have decided that from this money, I'm going to do this. That money you cannot utilize for making payment of dividend. Okay, what you need to do, you need to find it out. Do you have any free reserves in the company? Free reserve means you are having the money in reserves, which is not dedicated to any future plan of action. It is free. You can utilize wherever. So in that form or in that sense, if you find any reserve that you can use, then we had discussed that what are the provisions which are given under payment of dividend rules 2014. So that I had already discussed. Before using the past reserves, you have to go through the payment of dividend rules 2014 and whatever provisions are given there. Okay, you have to make the payment of dividend as per those rules only, because you are not using current year's profit. What you are using? You are using past reserves. So the payment of dividend rules 2014 is applicable only to this source. What is this source? When you are using the past reserves. And the last we had discussed that any money which is paid by the government also you can utilize for making payment of dividend. Now, why the government is going to pay the money to the company? Because government is having a share. Maybe it is a government company, or maybe the government is having the share in the company. In other words, government is a shareholder. So if the government is a shareholder, and when I say government, it includes both the central government and the state government. Might be individually both are, maybe the central government is the shareholder, or maybe the state government is a shareholder, or either jointly both are together, they are the shareholder in the same company. And if they have given any money, that can also be utilized for making payment of the dividend. So this much we had discussed. Declaration of dividend, in this you have to learn, and we had already discussed that once you register the company inherits the power of making payment of dividend. That, what does it mean? It means that the company is not acquiring any power from the memorandum of association, from the article of association, or from any other document. So making payment of dividend, this power the company is driving from registration, or in other words, which you have already understood, incorporation. Incorporation is a legal word for registration. Okay, so once you register your company, once you incorporate your company, automatically the making payment of dividend power is inherited by the company. Company is not driving this power from memorandum or article. What the article will tell you? Article will tell you only the process of making payment of dividend. What the article will tell you? It will give you only the process, because you know, okay, that article of association is a document which talks about internal management of the company. Then what you need to do, you need to call a general meeting. In that, you will declare the final dividend. And before doing that, the directors will call a meeting. And then in the directors report, they should mention, they should propose, you can use the word, they should recommend some amount by whatever they want to pay to in the form of the dividend. So first of all, in the directors meeting, what the directors will do, they will decide and propose an amount of dividend. The same proposed amount will be discussed in the general meeting of shareholders, and the shareholders will finalize and say yes or no. And one more thing I had discussed, that if the directors have proposed, for example, 100 rupees per share as a dividend this year, okay, this 100 rupee is the recommended amount by the directors after the directors meeting, and the same proposal they are putting in front of the shareholders in the annual general meeting. What are the powers of the shareholder here? So shareholders are having the power, if they want, they can reduce this amount. Maybe the shareholders are of the opinion that give us 90 rupees only in place of 100, and 10 rupees you can utilize for the betterment of the company, for maybe for expansion of business, or for introduction of new products, for advertisement of our product. They can decide. Why? Because they can decide, because they are the true owners of the company. So definitely they will decide. Okay, they will decide. But whatever amount is proposed by the director in the report, shareholders are not allowed to increase that amount. This you have to remember carefully. 100 rupees is a proposed amount. The shareholders are having a power to make it 90, 70, 50, 40, whatever. But they are not having a power to make it 101. So they cannot increase the proposed amount, or increase the recommended amount of dividend by the directors, but they are having a power. If they want, they can reduce the same. Okay, so this is another provision which you have to keep in mind. That we had discussed about dividend on preference shares and dividend on equity shares. So you know that preference shares gets the dividend at per the fixed amount, whatever is fixed at the time of issue of preference shares. So their dividend is fixed unless and until the preference shares are participating preference shares. Okay, so that we will discuss in the next chapter of capital structure, that what are the different types of preference shares. So in that, one category is participating preference shares. So for example, I am the holder of participating preference shares. Then what is my position? First of all, I'll receive the dividend which is fixed. That so definitely I'll give. Okay. When I receive that, when I receive from the company the fixed amount of dividend, but I am a participating preference shareholder, then the company will pay to equity shareholders. After paying me a fixed amount of dividend, the company will make the payment of dividend to equity shareholders. After making payment of dividend to equity shareholders, now again the company is left with residual profit. They are having a huge amount of profit. Then they will distribute that profit to whom? Then they will give the extra profit to the preference shareholders, those who are having or holding the shares in the form of participating preference shares. Participating means you are participating in extra profit over and above your fixed dividend. So that is a type of preference shares. And equity, equity shares gets the dividend after the payment of preference shareholders. Whatever is the amount of surplus which is remaining after making payment of preference shares, that will be distributed to equity shareholders. So might be they will get less amount of preference shares as compared to equity shares. This may also happen that preference shares have got a more amount, and after making payment to preference shares, less amount of profit is left with the company, then they have distributed that amount to the equity shareholders. Okay, so equity shareholders dividend vary. They don't receive the amount which is a fixed amount like the preference shareholders. Their amount may be more, their amount may be sometimes less, their amount may be at par. Whatever I had got last year, the same amount I have received this year also. So whatever preference shares I have received after making payment of dividend to preference shares, whatever surplus is left out of that, if they are participating preference shares, they are having a right to participate in surplus profit. That also you have to calculate and give it to them. And apart from that, whatever is left, that will be paid out to the equity shareholder in the form of the dividend. Then we work on interim dividend. So there are two words, and but the treatment of both the types of dividends are same. That means the procedure of making payment of dividend to the shareholders is same in both the types of dividend. So one is final dividend and one is interim dividend. So for example, the company is having a huge amount of profit. And as you know that the final dividend is declared during the annual general meeting. And annual general meeting, as discussed in the meetings chapter, happen only once in a year because the name is annual. So it will happen, the frequency is only once in a year. So final dividend will be declared in annual general meeting. But the directors can distribute certain amount of money in the form of dividend before the annual general meeting, or you may say in other words, between the two annual general meetings. The thing is, annual general meeting of 2024 will happen in 2024. Annual general of 2025 will happen in the next year. Okay, so definitely in both the year, this year and next year, by default, I'm going to get the dividend, which is known as final dividend. But when the two annual general meeting will took place, before that or between the two annual general meetings, if the directors are declaring any amount of money, then what will happen? That will be termed as interim dividend. So there are two words you have to be carefully understand the meaning of both. One is interim dividend, which is paid to the shareholder between the two annual general meeting if the directors declare. And the final dividend is declared and given to the shareholders during the annual general meeting, and it will be treated as an ordinary course of business to be discussed in the annual general meeting. Okay. The treatment, the process, the payment, the way of payment is the same in both the cases. Because ultimately what you are doing, you are making payment of dividend. So when I am making payment of dividend, the process will remain the same. Process will never change. Okay. Only the name is different. Interim means which is given between the two annual general meetings. Final means which is declared only at the annual general meeting. So that you have to remember. One more provision is there that if whether you have the company has declared the interim dividend or the company has declared the final dividend. Now, once you declare the dividend, it will become a debt on the company. That means now the company is responsible, the company is bound to make the payment. And the shareholders got the right that they will ask for making payment of dividend. Once it is decided, it is decided. Otherwise, don't say that you are ready to pay the dividend this year. For example, if you are not in a sound financial position, none of the sources applicable. I don't have current year's profit. I don't have past free reserves. Even the government has not given any amount of money to be paid in the form of dividend. Then in such circumstances, what you will do? So in such circumstances, don't declare any amount of dividend. Okay. Definitely, it will put a negative impact on the company because the shareholders will come to know, the market will come to know that the company has not made the payment of dividend this year. Then the people might withdraw the money. Maybe they stop buying the shares of your company. There are a number of things and which will happen once the public will come to know that the company is unable to make the payment of dividend. Okay, but the problem is once you declare the dividend, it will become a debt on the company. Company has to pay at any cost, and the shareholders will get a right to ask the payment. Why? Because you have already declared. So already the directors have taken the meeting, and when they have discussed in the meeting that this year we are going to recommend or propose this much amount. So definitely you must be aware of the financial condition of the company. That's why you have declared. You are having a knowledge whether you are going to make the payment from current year's profit or maybe the past reserves or maybe the money provided by the government from where you are going to make the payment. So before you call the annual general meeting, directors are well aware of the fact from where they are going to make the payment of dividend. The source also they will tell in the meeting that this is the source from where we are going to make the payment of dividend. Okay. So it will become a debt on the company. Now, payment when you are when we are discussing that we should pay to the shareholders or maybe the to whom it is going to be make the payment, who is entitled to receive the payment. So again, when we talk about the payment of dividend to be received by whom, so the law provides that no dividend shall be paid by the company in respect of any share therein except to the registered shareholder of such share or to his order to his banker. So directly what I'm doing, I am transferring the amount to your bank account. So that means the banker is receiving on your behalf. But the word they have used is registered shareholder. So the question is to whom the dividend is to be paid? And the answer is the dividend is to be paid only to the registered shareholder. This will be your answer. Okay. When it will come to the situation that there is a sale of shares. So for example, my shares are there and I have sold. So now I am the seller and another person is a buyer. So out of these two, who will receive the dividend? Okay. In such circumstances, the provision of law is that the dividend is required to be paid to the registered shareholder only. Again, see, again they are using the same word. In the first instance also, the answer is to whom the dividend is to be paid or who is going to receive the dividend from the company. One word answer, registered shareholder. The next question is, in case of sale of shares, who is entitled to receive? Because one person has sold, he is a seller, another person has bought, that person is a buyer. So seller will receive or buyer will receive. So they have not used the word seller or buyer. They are saying only to the registered shareholder. So that means if you are registered as a shareholder with the company, then only you will get the dividend. It hardly matters whether you have sold the share or whether you have bought the share. Why? Because the company does not recognize anybody except the person whose name is shown as the shareholder in the register of members of the company and is not bound to pay the dividend to the purchaser even though the transaction between the seller and the purchaser has been completed. So please be careful in this provision because the provision is very clear. Who is entitled to receive the dividend? Only the registered shareholder is entitled to receive the dividend. In case if the person has sold the share and the another person has bought it, then also the company will provide dividend only to the person who is shown in the register of members of the company as a shareholder. So that means company is maintaining a register of members and in that register your name should reflect. So whomsoever name is reflecting in that database, that person is bound to receive the dividend. Okay. And the company will not look into the picture that the transaction is complete and the seller has already sold out the shares and the purchaser has already bought. So company is not connected with seller and buyer. You have to register your name with the company. That's sir, now I am the new shareholder because I have bought these number of shares from this person. So he is no more a shareholder. I am now the person. Please make the entry of my name, my KYC, all my details, and then next time, whenever you are declaring the dividend, kindly transfer the dividend to my account, not to that person, because that person is no more a shareholder. Now I am the registered shareholder, but that you need to do. Okay, you have to inform the company about the sale of share, and then when the sale is over, definitely you will become the registered shareholder and you will be shown as a shareholder in the register of the company. So you are entitled to receive the dividend. Now coming to that, how you are going to make the payment of dividend. Okay, what should be the form, in which way you are going to make the payment of dividend. So the provision, again, the provision of law provides that no dividend shall be payable except in cash. So how you are going to make the payment? 10 rupees, 100 rupees, 1000 rupees, whatever is the amount as per the number of shares which the shareholder is holding, the dividend has to be paid in cash only. Okay, cash means it is not in the form that you are going to visit the house of each and every shareholder and give the cash by delivery directly in the hands of the shareholder. No, cash means you are transferring, making the transfer into their account, into their bank account, because definitely the shareholder has given all the details to the company. Otherwise, you can pay by check also. You can use the dividend warrant also. Okay, or there is the common mode which is known as electronic mode. In that also you can make the payment of. So in simple word, the provisions allows that any dividend payable in cash may be paid either by check or by dividend warrant or in any electronic mode to the shareholder entitled to the payment of dividend. Entitled to the payment of dividend means who is entitled to receive the money. So I'm putting into the form of cash. What is the mode of sending? Maybe I will give you the check. Maybe I will give you the dividend warrant. It is the order which is given to the bank. Okay, that I am transferring. This is the amount which you have to transfer in this account. So company is putting that amount and that will be transferred by the bank into the bank of the shareholder. And it very easy net transfer. When we do any EFT transfer, electronic mode, you immediately transfer, the company will immediately transfer through the bank account, one bank account of the company to the bank account of the share. Now, what is the time within which the dividend is to be paid? This is very important because this is a legal provision which the company has to follow. If you are not going to follow this legal provision, what will happen? Then you have to pay the penalty, because it is about money. And when it comes to money, so nobody is so liberal that you will make the payment delayed and then the person will not react to that. So there is the time limit which is already given under the law. Law has already decided everything as per the act. What the company needs to do, the company only needs to follow the law. When I'm saying that follow the law and the company has to follow, who is going to follow the law on behalf of the company? The directors of the company. So it is the responsibility of the directors, or maybe on behalf of the directors, some person is authorized. So the board of directors will keep one person as an in charge and he will do the needful. He will look into the complete process of payment of dividend. So you have to follow the timelines also. So the amount of dividend, including the interim dividend, shall be deposited in a scheduled bank in a separate account within 5 days from the date of declaration of such dividend. So this is the first provision. And what is this? They are talking about both type of dividends. See, as discussed, both are same. The treatment of both the type of dividend is same. That means the procedure is same. So whatever is the amount of dividend, whether it is an interim dividend or whether it is a final dividend, once you declare it, okay, from the date of declaration, you need to deposit the total amount in a bank where you should open a separate account in the name of dividend account. What you are doing, you are opening a separate account. The name of the account is dividend account. The day on which you have declared, you are having 5 days. Okay, from that date, you are having 5 days. Calculate the total number. Maybe it will come out to 1 crore, 10 crores, 100 crore, whatever is the amount. Within 5 days, you have to transfer from the company's amount, whatever is the account in the company, transfer from that account to the newly opened account. And the name of this newly opened account is dividend account. In the dividend account, within 5 days, you have to credit the money. Now the total amount which is distributed to the shareholders in the form of dividend now is credited to this new account. That means from this account, all the shareholders will receive the money in simple words. Okay. Then what the company has to do? Then the company has to pay the dividend, which is declared to the shareholder entitled therein within 30 days from its declaration. So the company has to pay the dividend within 30 days. So there are two timings. One, the company has to credit the account, which is known as dividend account, in 5 days. And the procedure of payment will be completed within 30 days from the date of declaration. So these two things you have to remember, that 30 days may you need to make the payment. Once it comes to 31, you will be levied with the penalty. Whatever is as per law, you have to pay the penalty. That means the company has to pay the penalty. Now coming to the procedure of making payment of dividend. Now, as discussed, you are not driving this power from a memorandum of association, and you are not driving this power from article of association. But maybe in your article of association, you have mentioned the procedure of making payment. That you can do because it is the document which shows the internal management of the company. Okay. So in case of internal management of the company, I will put the procedure of making payment of dividend also. So what is the procedure? This is also very, very important part. So how you are going to begin with the declaration part? So first of all, the directors have to call the meeting, which is board meeting. And you know what is a board meeting and what are the legal requirements of the board meeting. So it is a directors meeting, it is a BOD meeting, it will be arranged. And during this meeting, what the directors will do, they will propose the amount of dividend. Remember, they are not finalizing the amount. What they are doing, they are proposing. They are proposing the amount, they are recommending the amount. As discussed in the previous slide, directors will recommend or propose the amount which will be finalized by the shareholder in the annual general meeting. So directors are no one. They don't have any authority to say this is the final amount and we are going to pay this only. No. As a director, what you can do? In the board meeting, only you can propose and recommend the amount. Example, 100 rupees per share. This is the proposed amount, or you may call it as this is a recommended amount. Okay. So directors during the meeting, they will propose and finalize, okay, this is the amount which we are ready to pay and we are having sound financial position. We are having the sources, might be we are using current year's profit for making payment. Then what the next thing they have to do? They need to prepare a report because this will be discussed during the annual general meeting. Surely you have to discuss what happened in the directors meeting, how you will come to this conclusion that 100 rupees to be paid, because randomly you cannot say, okay, by your wish and will, because I feel 100 rupees is okay and I will finalize and recommend 100 rupees. No, there should be a logic behind 100 rupees. There should be a valid reason why 100, why not 500, why not 1000 rupees, why not 50 rupees. There should be a logic behind the money which you are proposing or recommending. So how you're going to prove this logic? You are going to show this, how you have arrived to this 100 rupees. You have to put everything in detail in the director's report. So after the meeting get over, naturally one person will, who is in charge on behalf of BOD, that person will prepare the director's report. In detail, they will discuss about all the necessary and important points which are discussed during the directors meeting. Whatever was the discussion during the directors meeting, that will be mentioned in this report, directors report. Okay, so that at the time of presentation, the director will be ready with the answers of the shareholders, that how you will come to the conclusion that 100 rupees to be paid, and why you have not proposed more amount and why you have not proposed the less amount. So you should be ready with your answer. Director report is ready now after the board meeting. Then you have to call the annual general meeting, because where you are going to finalize this amount during the annual general meeting, the shareholder will finalize. So before the annual general meeting you call, you have to just complete the process of directors meeting, that means BOD meeting and preparation of director report, because this you need to do before you call the shareholders for annual general meeting. So be ready with the report, be ready with the discussion, whatever had happened during the directors or you can say BOD meeting. Okay, in the annual general report and in the annual general meeting, definitely as discussed, the shareholders will finalize the amount. Might be they will say, okay, 100 rupees you have recommended, we have accepted. This is very simple. Sometimes they will say, ki, okay, we don't want to take the 100 rupees as a dividend amount per share, but because we are going through some crisis and we need to expand our business, we are going to launch a new product within the coming next 6 months. So make it 275. Proposed, that is okay that you are proposing 100, but as a shareholders, we are deciding that make it to 75 rupees and 75 multiplied by number of shares as per the holdings of shareholder, and then make the payment of dividend. So that, as discussed in the previous slide, this is the power which the shareholders are having. They can reduce the amount proposed by the directors, but 100 rupees, if it is proposed, they cannot make it 101. That they don't have a, okay, because directors are well versed about the company's financial situation and not the shareholders. I am a shareholder, but I have never visited the company's office. So how may I come to know that how the company is running into, whether it is into a sound financial situation, or maybe the company is into a going through the crisis, or maybe the company is not having money, or might be the directors have proposed the dividend out of the free reserves. This shows that we don't have any profit current in the current year. So there are a number of things which only the directors can understand and they will recommend, not the shareholders. Then after the annual general meeting gets over, what the next thing you have to do? Immediately within the current 5 days, you have to open a special account in the bank. And the name of the account is dividend account. That we have already seen that you have to open an account. In this dividend account, what you need to do? You have to transfer the total amount of dividend to be paid to the shareholders in this account. In how many days? Just we had discussed, in 5 days only. You have to credit the total amount in the dividend account. Whatever is the amount which is going to be paid to the shareholders in the form of a dividend. And then you will distribute the dividend within a period of 30 days. Because again, this is a legal requirement. So this is the process of making payment of dividend in the sequence, beginning with the BOD meeting, then mentioning everything into the director's report, calling the annual general meeting, then opening a special account in the bank in the name of dividend account. Then you have to credit this dividend account with the total amount paid to the shareholders in the form of dividend. And once you credit this dividend account, within 30 days, you have to distribute the dividend from the date of declaration. So these are the general provisions, or you can call them as a legal provision, which are applicable for the procedure of payment of dividend. That you need to remember for sure. Now coming to the another important part of this chapter, what it is. It talks about unpaid dividend. So till now, whatever we had discussed about the process, we had discussed about the sources, we had discussed about the timeline of making payment of dividend, and we had discussed about uh, what is the procedure, how you are going to make the payment. So these are the legal, you can say, provisions which every company needs to follow. One more thing is there. For example, you have calculated the registered shareholders, you have calculated the total amount of money to be paid to the shareholders, everything you did. Okay. You have credited the account, dividend account also, you have started making payment also. Sometimes you found that of about certain shareholders, they have not claimed any amount of dividend from the company. The company is unable to find out the whereabouts of the shareholders. Maybe they have not updated their KYC. Company is not having any knowledge about the phone numbers, the mail IDs, the residential address. These are missing from the records, or maybe the shareholder has not updated. Something, either way, something has happened. And the company comes to know that, for example, a specific number of shareholders have not claimed the amount of dividend. Might be they have not present in the meeting also. Annual general meeting, they were not there. They were missing in the meeting also. Right now, they are not claiming any amount of dividend also. So that means whatever amount I had credited into the dividend account, some amount is left because the shareholders have not claimed the dividend. Okay, so not claimed, which is unpaid, that is the dividend which falls under the category of unpaid dividend. And now, how you are going to treat with this? What you are going to do with this unpaid amount? Because it is not the director's money. It is not the company's money. Already you have decided, you have transferred to the another account. Now this belongs to the shareholder only. The company will not take the unclaimed dividend or unpaid dividend. Okay. The already decided amount is transferred to the another account, and that account is having or left with some amount of money. Why? Because some of the shareholders have not claimed the dividend because their whereabouts are missing. So where a dividend has been declared by a company but has not been paid or claimed within 30 days from the date of declaration to any shareholder entitled to the payment of dividend, the company shall, within 7 days from the expiry of the set period of 30 days, transfer the total amount of dividend which remains unpaid or unclaimed within the said period of 30 days to a special account to be opened by the company in that behalf in any scheduled bank to be called as unpaid dividend account. Now, I hope some of you have understood the language, but maybe some of you have confused about it. It's very, very simple. When you are declaring the amount, you have already credited the dividend account within 5 days and you have started making payment, the procedure of payment within 30 days, and you have completed. That is, I think, clear. Okay. If in the dividend account some amount is left which is unpaid or unclaimed by the shareholder who is entitled to receive the dividend, what the company will do after the 30 days will get over, because 30 days is the time limit in which you need to complete the procedure. So in which you need to complete the procedure 30 days, so you have to wait. Anybody can ask for payment within 30 days because this is the legal time. But once the 30 days gets over, after that 30 days gets over, within the next 7 days, what you can do, you have to open a new account. Maybe if you want, you can open in the same bank. Okay. And now you have to give the name to this account as unpaid dividend account. What was the first account which you have opened? That was dividend account. Now you are opening another account. When you are opening another account, after the 30 days gets over and the registered shareholder has not claimed any dividend from the company, and in the dividend account the money is left after 30 days, within 7 days. These are the legal requirements. You have to be very careful and you have to learn properly. The number of days, what is happening, when is happening, under what circumstances it is happening. So after the 30 days of payment procedure is over, what you need to do? Within the next 7 days, you need to open a new account in the name of unpaid dividend account and transfer the unpaid or unclaimed amount which is left in dividend account to this new account. And new account is, the name itself says, unpaid dividend account. So from the dividend account, whatever is left in the dividend account within 7 days, what you need to do? Transfer the total left amount into this new account. So what will happen to dividend account? The balance will become zero. Now the balance will become zero. Why? Because you have transferred the whole unpaid dividend to the new account, which is known as unpaid dividend account. I hope now it is clear. Okay, so the balance of dividend account will become zero and all the money will be credited to unpaid dividend account. Now, next, what will happen in case of unpaid dividend? Now, coming to this, that how you are going to use this unpaid dividend, or you may call it as unclaimed dividend. Okay, so any money transferred to the unpaid dividend account of a company which remains unpaid or unclaimed for a period of 7 years from the date of such transfer shall be transferred by the company along with the interest thereon to the fund established, and the company shall send a statement in the prescribed form of the details of such transfer to the authority which administers the said fund, and that authority shall issue a receipt to the company as evidence of such transfer. Now, what we were discussing right now, we were discussing what you are going to do with unpaid dividend. After 30 days gets over, within 7 days, you have opened a new account, which is known as unpaid dividend account, and you have transferred the whole money into this. Now, in this account also, if the money remains unpaid or unclaimed, what is the duration? For a period of 7 years from the date of such transfer. So see that the company is waiting for the shareholder to ask the amount for the next 7 years. Within 30 days, you have not claimed. Still, the company is keeping this amount in the unpaid dividend account for the next 7 years. For the next 7 years, anytime you can come and claim the amount of dividend. And the company has to pay the amount. Okay. So this is again a legal requirement. How you are going to treat the unpaid dividend, how you are going to treat the unclaimed dividend. So what I am doing, I am transferring the amount of unpaid dividend to the account, which is known as unpaid dividend account, and keeping the money for the next 7 years. That means I'm waiting for the shareholder to claim this money in the next 7 years or till the next 7 years from the date of the transfer. Okay, but nobody has claimed. Again, what is happening? In from this account also, nobody has claimed till next 7 years. Now the question is, from which account? From unpaid dividend account. Shareholders have not asked anything. That means that shareholders, either they don't have knowledge, maybe they are no more in the world, or maybe they have forgotten about the shares because they have bought 20-25 years back. Now they don't have any knowledge. Something goes wrong with the person who is a shareholder, and anything can happen. And the representative, the legal representative, they don't have any idea about that the person has taken the shares in the company and that person has not claimed the dividend in the last 7 years. So what the company will do, after the 7 years of waiting period, if nobody claims the money, whatever is there in this account, the company will transfer the money along with the interest, because the crores of rupees are there in the account. And when it is in the bank account, definitely the bank will give you the annual interest. So the principal amount which is in this account plus the interest of 7 years, the total of both will be transferred to the fund. And the name of that fund is Investors Education and Protection Fund. Now you are getting that from where the money is coming and from where it is going. And in how many days, in how many years, how many months are you getting? So within, after the waiting period of 7 years in unpaid dividend account, if the shareholder don't claim any amount of money, then the company will transfer the total amount plus the interest of 7 years to the fund. And the name of this fund is Investors Education and Protection Fund. Then there is a procedure. Okay, there is a format which is a legal format. You have to prepare a complete statement. The company will make a statement in the legal format. Put all the details of the transfer and send it to the authority who is in charge or head of this fund. Who is in charge of this fund, or maybe the authority who administer this fund. Okay, you have to prepare a statement because it is about money. So you have to put all the details. This is the amount. This belongs to so many shareholders. There is an interest. 7 years of interest is this. Principal amount is this. We are transferring the total this much amount to this fund. And after making this complete statement, what you have to do, because it is a format, legal format, where you have to fill all the details like you fill for any process. Okay. So you fill all the details, transfer the total amount to this authority. Which authority? Who is in charge of this fund or who administers this fund. And once the authority receives the total amount, definitely they are getting the amount, for example, maybe 10 crore rupees, including the interest. So it is money. So if I'm paying the money, the company is transferring it to the said account, then the company also needs an evidence of transfer. So what the authority will do, the authority to whom I'm transferring, naturally, Investors Education and Protection Fund is a fund. Somebody is in charge of this fund. So that person is known as the person who is authorized to administer the fund. So that authority they will do? Once they receive the money plus interest, they will issue a receipt to the company in the form of evidence of such transfer. The company is now free legally because company is having an evidence in their hand that, sir, this much is the amount which was unclaimed from the last 7 years. This much is the interest. Both together we are transferring to this amount, and the amount is already transferred. Already transferred. Once I receive the credit note, yes, the amount is credited because I am the person who is authorized to administer this fund. With my signature, I will issue a statement and I will sign it and give it to the company that, sir, we have received from you this much amount of money in the form of unpaid or unclaimed dividend. So in simple words, you can say the unpaid and unclaimed dividend after the period of 7 years will be transferred to this fund. What you have understood? After the period of 7 years, the unpaid and unclaimed dividend will get transferred to where? Will get transferred to this fund, which is known as Investors Education and Protection Fund. I hope that now it is clear how many days, how many years, what you are doing, and when you are doing, how you are treating the fresh dividend, how you are putting it into the which account for how many days, what is the time limit in which you are going to distribute. If it is not distributed within the said amount, then what you are going to do. So these are the things I think which you have already understood. You know that what you are going to do and how you are going to treat it. Now coming to the next part. So company will receive a receipt from this authorized person who is in charge of this fund, and that is an evidence with the company that they have deposited the total amount which is unclaimed to this fund. Now, all the shares in respect of which the dividend has not been or paid or claimed for 7 consecutive years or more shall be transferred by the company in the name of Investors Education and Protection Fund. That though you know that we already did this, that whatever shares in respect of which the dividend has not been claimed in the 7 years. Okay, continuous 7 years, nobody has claimed. None of the shareholders asked for making payment of the dividend. Neither the assignee nor the legal representative, no one has asked for making payment. And what the company has done after the you can say the 7 years gets over, the company has already transferred this amount to the Investors Education and Protection. Now, how you are going to administer, what are the authorities who are going to administer this one, this also you must know and you must keep in mind. The central government shall constitute an authority for administration of the fund, consisting of a chairperson and such other members not exceeding 7 and a chief executive officer. So these are the, you can say, authorities. These are the members, because we were discussing now the person who is authorized to take care of the fund. So who is the person who is authorized to take care of the fund? These are the persons. The central government is making the appointment. So who makes the appointment? Central government makes the appointment. Okay, of whom? The authority who is going to look after this fund, and who will be the part of this authority. First of all, they will appoint a chairperson. With the chairperson, they will appoint such other members also, but not exceeding 7. That means only 7 members will be appointed by the central government, because the complete appointment is with the central government. Then one more, you have to appoint a chief executive officer who will get the work done in this fund. He will see to it that everything is going to happen in the legal direction, and the whatever money is there, it is utilized as per law only. It is not the money which is belonging to some person. It is the money which is the investors' money, those who have not claimed. So it will be utilized as per law only. So law have given n number of ways in which the money which is there in the fund will be utilized. Okay. Now the authority shall administer the fund and maintain the separate accounts, and yes, of course, the other relevant records and documents also which are connected to the fund in such a form as may be prescribed after consultation with Comptroller and Auditor General of India. That means the CAG. And now he is a very big person, you know. Okay, so the chairperson is there, the 7 other members are there, the CEO is there. These are all the persons who are entitled to what to do, who are entitled to take care of this fund, how to use, where to use, how much amount, when to use, what amount. Okay, everything they have to maintain these separate accounts and relevant documents, because this is about money. Otherwise, there will be a financial fraud, and that too at a very big and high level, because crores of rupees are there in this fund. Anybody can do wrong with that. But because central government has made the appointment of the authority is in charge of taking care of this fund, and the all big officers are taking care of this fund. So whatever you are doing, how you have to prepare the accounts, how you have to prepare the relevant documents pertaining to this account, this fund, where to use the fund, how much to use, when to use, which permission is required, whose permission is needed, whose signatures are required. Everything has to be done as per the legal provisions. Okay, now who is taking care of all this and who is guiding? The person who is guiding is Comptroller and Auditor General of India. So this is the person who is guiding how to administer this fund, how to maintain the records, how to prepare the records. Okay, so this person will guide the whole team, and the whole team will work under the guidance and supervision of this person, that how to prepare the account, how to do this, how what to do this, when to do this. Everything is clear and everything is as per Companies Act 2013. Okay, so this is the end of the dividend chapter. I hope that you have understood. It is an important chapter. Please prepare the definition, the sources, the amount which is going to be paid, when to be paid, what is the mode of payment, okay, from where you are driving the power to make the payment of dividend, whether it has to be paid in cash, then what are the different types of mode in which you can transfer the cash. That is very, very important. What is the procedure of making payment of dividend? And the most important part is how you can deal with the unpaid and unclaimed dividend. And if it will remain unpaid and unclaimed for the next 7 years, then how you are going to treat. So you must know that the amount which is unpaid and unclaimed will get transferred to the Investors Education and Protection Fund, which is administered by the authority, and the authority members are appointed by the central. That's all in this session about the dividend. So in the next session, we are, because this unit is over now. Okay, so we are going to begin with the another unit which is known as capital structure, and I'm going to begin with the next session, the capital structure part. I hope that the dividend chapter is clear, and there is no, as such, there is no problem, because the PPTs are shared with you, and you can prepare as for this. Maybe if you want, you can take the help of the book also. Otherwise, all the important provisions pertaining to the laws, pertaining to the payment, pertaining to unclaimed dividend, I had already discussed, and nothing is left which is remaining. So this unit is also over. Now we are going to move ahead with the next unit in the next session. Okay, so this is all about the dividend part. Please prepare the important provisions. Okay, and important provisions, if you go through the presentation, you will find it out that all the provisions are very easy. Only what you need to remember, you need to remember the days, the number of days, which is a very crucial part. Because how many days are needed for opening the account, how many days are required for transfer, making payment of transfer. If the payment will not happen, then how many days and how many years, what you are going to do with. Okay, so everything is related to the time period, or you can say time limit. Everything you need to do in the given time limit only. You are not allowed to cross the time limit. Okay, so please remember what are the time limits for different processes which are legally decided. It is not that any person randomly can decide that 5 days, 7 days, 10 days. No. Whatever is mentioned in the Companies Act 2013, that is the procedure which you need to follow, which you need to obey when it comes to making payment of dividend to the shareholders. One more thing you have to remember, making payment of dividend to the shareholder is only registered shareholder. This word you need to remember, that to whom you are going to make the payment. Only to the registered shareholder you need to make the payment of dividend. Okay, next session may, as discussed, as said, I'm going to begin with the another unit which is capital structure. So you will come to know about different forms of capital, different types of shares, and how we are going to proceed with different things, some difference between two specific areas of finance. For example, what is the debt capital, what is the equity capital, something like that. Okay, so that we are going to discuss in our next chapter. This is the end of unit, which is the dividend. So that's all in this session, and thank you for listening, and thanks for the session.